So, good night, everyone. We have three special guests today for this Women Who Care English Speakers Edition. And now we'll tell you more about them for you now. And then we'll have the opportunity to listen to each one of them, their stories, their knowledge, all of their hearts wants to share with us today. So I have here with me Monica Escalante. Monica is a mother, spiritual fitness coach, and Kundalini energy guide who supports nervous system regulation, physical strength, and connection to the higher self. With over 8 years of experience, she blends movement, breathwork, and mindfulness to facilitate deep personal transformation. Her background in personal training and Kundalini practices allows her to integrate physical, emotional, and energetic works in both coaching and ceremonial spaces. I have also here with me Juliana Brunnquell. Juliana is an Yanifa in the African traditional religion, an Umbanda priestess, and a conference interpreter. An educator and founder of the Pentagram School, she is dedicated to researching processes of ritual spiritual integration and providing psychological support for mediums and seekers. Her work focused on the application of ancestral technologies as essential tools for the safety and effectiveness of entheogenic experiences. And last but not least, Mila Romero. Mila is an indigenous mother, healer, birth worker, herbalist, and educator rooted in the traditions of Caingang, Guarani, and Xoclen peoples of the southern Brazil. Bridging ancestral knowledge across the Americas, she creates ceremonial spaces that nurture connection to land, lineage, and community. She's the founder of Do Centro da Mãe Terra, an itinerant indigenous healing arts center dedicated to preserving plant medicine and traditional healing practices through accessible community-based care. I'm very, very glad and honored to have you here, you three, and let's start talking. So we will listen to each one of them, and then we will have time and space to work on questions that our listeners may have, and to chat more with everyone in this group today. Okay. So I'll call first Juliana to share a bit with us about your story, your knowledges, your heart. Welcome.
Thank you, sister. It's an honor to be here with all these forces of nature, all these fantastic women, and with you. So, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a very important topic that we're going to approach here today. It's a topic that actually I think a lot, I meditate a lot on how we can survive to caregiving because sometimes we are actually so entertained in this loving relationship we have with this activity that sometimes we lost ourselves in the meantime. So it's very important to approach this topic, and I'm very honored to be here today. I'll try to be brief. I didn't plan when I was a teenager. I want to be a facilitator. It was not something that I was planning when I was really young. Actually, I would rather be an architect or a physician or something like that. But along of my teenagerhood, the end of my teenagerhood, around 18 or something, my mediumship exploded. And that sensitiveness that I had when I was younger became stronger and stronger. And I had to figure it out how I would handle all of those information I was channeling all the time or perceiving or noticing, and nobody else was. And how I would take care of myself to do not get crazy, of course, and how I would be able to navigate this channel to be able to understand myself through this so-called gift nowadays, right? So-called gift of mediumship. And after it took me long years to study what is mediumship. Here in Brazil, we have a lot of different traditions that work with mediumship, and it's a little bit different from US, where people has this psychic powers or this channeling. They have their that mediumship is have has more this approach, this kind of scientific approach there, and here is more connected to the Afro-diasporic traditions. So I came to understand myself through the study of this language, to understand how this channel works and what are the things that I have to do in order to preserve myself and to protect myself as a channel. And it came such a strong thing in my life that I start helping other mediums that were learning how to deal with their brown, super open, living in big cities like São Paulo, New York, San Diego, you name it. It's hard to be a medium in such big urban centers because we catch kind of everything, right? We're kind of a sponge cleaning everywhere without even knowing we are doing that. So it's important for mediums to get this specific training, and I try to do it in a non-dogmatic way. I foster with my students spiritual autonomy because I think, as you know, right, Tábata, there are a lot of centers that kind of exploit somehow the mediumship of their students. You have to work for me in order to understand what's going on with you. You have to give me your time, your money, or this and that. And I think it's quite unfair. And how I survived to all this journey, I like to give the blueprint to my students and whoever needs this kind of guidance. And also at the same time learning how to take care of myself during this journey. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
How important is to a caregiver learned how to care for ourselves. So, Monica, please take a seat.
Hello,
All right.
Juliana. I would love to attend your school and learn from you. My mediumship has opened up, I'd say, in the last couple of years, and I do attest a lot of my Kundalini yoga training to strengthening my vessel and activating that energy so that when I started to work with plant medicine, it just seemed to open very, very quickly, easily, and strong. So I'd love to learn more from you on that. So let's see. I am a mom of a 6-year-old little boy, beautiful little boy. I am a single mom. So self-care is definitely something that I am constantly, working with in my life and trying to make important. Um, Oftentimes, I just have to do my best, and I will do my practice and meditate with him laying on my lap. And I had to just let go of it's not perfect, but it is perfect. And that he's here with me is so beautiful. And I'm seeing a lot of, he's connecting as well. Like I see little things in him. So it's beautiful that we're going on this journey together. And he's definitely been one of my biggest teachers as well. So, what I do for work is I guide energetic practices and hold space for people to experience and connect with their higher self through breath work and movement, pranayamas, chanting, and to create a safe space to open and move that life force energy and the prana to help raise the Kundalini energy. So I also have a big background in fitness. So I've kind of combined the two into a very spiritual fitness type of practice, but also very deep and meditative as well. So it's a nice variety that I offer.
How important is to connect the physical body into spiritual practices. I feel that many of spiritual lineages, modern lineages, don't connect with the body as much as they could.
Yes.
So, but it's something that we can see in ancient lineages, ancestral knowledge to connect body, mind, and spirit. So, very beautiful what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I've been a personal trainer since I was 18, and back then it was more about how do you look, how does your abs look, and things like that. And now I, really enforce like we're making the vessel that holds the spirit and the soul healthy, so that we can do our work here on this planet in this life. So just keeping the vessel strong and purified and keeping the vessel strong enough to hold the light that is needed right now at this time. So, yeah, and it also feels really great just to move your body. I think movement is definitely medicine in itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yes, it is. So, Mila, please join us in this conversation.
Hello, good evening. Look, Mama, hi. Well, I am a mom, and you can see her. She's here with me. I have a almost 6-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. The little one is actually turning 2 on Saturday. And I've been in the States for about 16 years of my life. And when I thought it was interesting what Juliana said too, because when I was a little girl, I always said I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a theater actress. It wasn't ever TV or anything like that. And then I did end up studying theater, studying dance, and um, doing multiple different kinds of art. And it wasn't until I was working in theater, both in Brazil and here in the States, that I began to offer more of the plant medicines that I make to the people that I was working with to help mainly how we get together and in theater there's a lot of energies, right, flowing through all different kinds of work that we do. And so that always helped. I always like to offer some plant bathing. It's what I always have it with me, especially when I do calls. It's what I call plant bathing in a bottle. So I make, these like rue baths and cedar and pine baths, and then I put it in a bottle and spray in everybody. And but I grew up in the Atlantic forest. So I was born in Brazil, and throughout my childhood, the one constant thing in my family was always medicine making and tending to the body. And we would do what I say in the Kaingangue people, and the Guarani people, we have sweat lodges. So Temascal is part of our culture. And I remember being very little, and my father, he would make these very steaming pots of tea, and he would lock us all in the bathroom and put a towel over our heads. So we got to steam together. Anything for anything that was happening, that was a plant, that was a medicine, that was some ointment that they would put on us, or some tea we would drink. Sometimes they tasted like feet, and I really didn't like it. But it never came to me that, oh, this was going to be something that it was just something natural. It was like, the water that we drink. And then prayer was also something very constant in my life. I had the in between both worlds. My mom was adopted into another family, so she wasn't raised by her Guarani culture, but my father was very, he never went into religion that much. So we had these polarities always in our home that, oh, my mom is a nurse, so she understands more of the Western medicine. But then my father was like, no, we're not taking them to the hospital. We're not taking them to, the doctor. We'll do these medicines first. And so that became very, became muscle memory for me, and became just a way of living, because that's so tied to who we are as the base of our culture. And as I became a teacher and I started working more deeply into offering traditional healing sessions, massage, it was back in about 11 years ago, 2015, when I did this shift from the artistic work that I was doing into creating more spaces for healing talk circles here in Philadelphia and in Brazil, doing online or in person, and deepening that, not just the knowledge and the wisdom that we can share, but deepening community and community ties and spaces where we can both be heard, be seen, and to not just experience our spirituality, but really understand, have this understanding of coming home, of understanding who we really are, what are our lineages. And because nowadays we can, right, like we can learn from many different cultures, many different ways of practicing our spirituality, and the gifts that we have, right? But there's something so beautiful about remembering who we truly are, who our ancestors were. And so when I had my first daughter, one of the things that I was already doing was caring for moms in the postpartum period. And I remember having so many conversations with my mom. Okay, what do we do now, right? And she's like, well, what have you been telling people what to do? Because my grandmother was a midwife, and for the longest time, I always thought I was going to be a midwife. That was also something that I really wanted. And so that was a swift shift for me to be able to care for women in that very open, very delicate, very, and I don't like to use the word vulnerable, but it is a very sensitive time of our lives, right? During pregnancy and during birth, of course, is the most open we'll ever be, and energetically as well. But the postpartum period is this time where we practice the quarentena time, so the first 40 days after birth, right, in my culture. And so I witnessed that throughout my life as well. My mom, my aunties, how they care for each other. And so I was able to fully embody that, but still facing different difficulties, let's say different obstacles for being in the urban area. I had my first daughter in Philadelphia. And then when I had my second daughter, it was much more opening. I was able to fully go through birth, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum in the exact way that we do it culturally. And also being able to honor their traditions. My oldest, she's Choclain as well. So I always say the work that I do is also rooted in the Choclain knowledge and wisdom, because as a mom, I need to honor who she is and help guide her to continue to learn the language, to continue to learn the customs, even though we're not living on our territory, but we carry that with ourselves wherever we go. And so that has been, that journey for me. And nowadays I do offer healing sessions and also the postpartum work throughout the first 6 weeks, and doing full closing of the bodies for moms, with the baths, with the massages, with the plant medicines. And then in ceremonial spaces, really making sure that we create spaces for the children. My children are always with me, and now they're here as well. So they always come with me in these, in whatever healing circle I organize, or anything that I participate in, or any ceremonies that we go. And that's the most rewarding. It's sometimes the most challenging because it takes a lot of energy, right? But at the same time, we're able to create community in open spaces that other moms can come or begin conversations, like having us all here together. We do that in our community as well. How can we make this space safe for the children? Because this is the base of all of our ceremonies, they are for the children as well, and they're always involved. And that's how I came to do all the work that I do nowadays. It was by learning when I was a kid, and with my parents. And so I'm passing that on to them as well. I often hear at home, "Mommy, can you prepare a chá banho, a plant bathing?" And they make medicine with me. And when they go to school, they massage their classmates. And so all of that is, the little steps, the baby steps that they're learning, and hopefully we'll be able to pass on to their next generations as well. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight.
Amazing to hear your stories. And I have a question for you three here that I'm still, from time to time, I have to answer myself as also a caregiver, how to understand the borders, and that's the question, how to understand the borders between being a caregiver in a professional container, in a spiritual container, in a work. For us, it's also work container. And the border between that and to be a caregiver in our families, to be a mom, to be a sister, to be a wife, because there's limits in both spaces. So the borders don't get confused. But how do you see it? I'd really appreciate to hear your thoughts about that, about these borders, about the challenges in that, about the similarities maybe in both caregiving functions that we have in our lives, with family and with the work with the spiritual caregiving. So each one of you that wants to start, feel free to go. We're here to listen.
I think I can start if the girls allow me. Yeah, well, this is something that has haunted me for years, to be honest to you. It was actually a big theme of my development as a facilitator because we learn so much things to do to help. We learn how to take better care of our bodies, of our spirit, of our energy, of our mood, of our mental health, of our relationships. But when it comes to family, it becomes, at least for me, it would be always a little bit more challenging. I have my family, they have a completely different background. They, it was hard for them to believe in mediumship at first until the point they saw what was happening with me. They first thought I was crazy, and then it was a long journey. But long story short, in the tradition I study and I teach to my students, there is something we call ashe, that is the basic energy of life, the pure energy of life that brings joy, that brings us this enjoyment of being alive. So there is a share and there is counter a share. So there are practices that we do, like taking care of people or using our gifts, that produces a share. You can exchange a share as well. Like when I talk to you, Tábata, when we talk to each other, we exchange a share because you always give me fantastic hints and your experiences and everything. We talk and we exchange our experiences. It is an exchange of a share because we are always there for each other. We know we can rely on each other to talk, to maybe clarify some kind of doubt we are going through, whatever. So it's a share, bring a share. But there is something that is counter a share. So helping somebody that doesn't want to be helped, that doesn't want to be helped. They don't want somebody that that didn't ask for help, is what we call in my tradition counter share. You're trying to push your truth, your knowledge, your wisdom to someone that haven't asked for anything. So with our family, it's the same thing. If they haven't asked anything to you, we cannot give something they haven't asked. We can pray for them, we can hold space for them, we can hold a container for them for them to go through whatever they need to. But like effectively helping them, it's actually with my experience, of course, right? On my side, Juliana speaking, I would say that it's like pointing them to the absolutely opposite direction of what they should be doing. So, yeah, when it comes to family, so I have had chances to help my family and it was well received. But when I was young and I was learning, and I say, I see you going through this difficulty here. Why don't you try this and that? And without, nobody asked it. And I realized how much waste of time it was. So just to share my experience related with family and also with others. We see, especially us, that we study that, right? We see people going through challenges, and most of the times we can see the pattern they are repeating. But it's not supposed to, for us to see, it doesn't help them. They must see by themselves, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, my experience. I hope somebody has a different one.
I will say, in like my experience with giving so much, and I see in other women, is we forget how to receive. And that has been very big on my journey, is learning to receive, to not always be giving, but to also, ask for help, and to be okay with asking for help, and to receive love and support and things like that. So that's been really big on my journey, and I love helping other women to see that.
Yes, I think when and these types of questions always help me reflect the difference that I have with my first postpartum and my second. And with my first, it was during a pandemic, and my mom couldn't come, and I actually couldn't go back to Brazil. I wanted to have her there. Then there was, lots of back and forth decisions, and so I was like, oh, okay, ended up staying. And I was tended to by friends. I had support, but it was very limited, which sometimes is good. We do have a period of time, right? Those first 40 days that we don't come out of the house and we don't see, many people. But I found myself making my own steaming every day, preparing my own plant-based things every week, and had some help, more initially in the first couple of weeks. And then I ended up getting sick after 40 days. And with my second, I had appendicitis. It was a very interesting path as well in my healing journey, because my mom was hospitalized when I was a baby too, because she, received some of the care, but also didn't have enough help, didn't have enough support. She already had my brother, and so we repeat those patterns of our ancestors in those ways as well. And so with my second, I was already okay. No, and I'm also a solo parent, like you, Monica. And for me, it was as soon as I discovered that I was pregnant, I said, okay, called my mom and I said, you need to be here. You need to be here. I cannot do it without you this time. You need to be here. And so she came. She spent 5 months with us. And then at that time, so 2 years ago, I already had two apprentices that was learning from me. And so one of them came every week to give me baths, to give me massages, prepared all the plant medicines with me. And I worked until 5 days before I had her. and giving the closing of the body, the massages, the baths for all the other women while I was pregnant. I have like videos, and everybody was like, okay, you're gonna have the baby now. And so I was able to really, I always say a lot of the times, lots of us, we spend so much time planning for birth, and but not for the postpartum time. And yes, birth, it is a very sacred ceremony, and as all ceremonies, there's a lot of preparation, a lot of organization, and a lot of things that we need to put together for everything to be safe and run smoothly. But the postpartum time is the time that is forever. And so one of the things that I did during the pregnancy was create that immediate support system and that further away support system, which are all people from my family and my community. And then setting myself up to what does that postpartum look like? If I was home, if I had all my aunties come and work on me and give me healing and help me, what does that look like? And so I had, certain people, I didn't leave the house for 40 days. Nobody was allowed to get in the house unless they were one of those people that came in to wash the dishes, to do the laundry, to clean the house, to bring us food, to take care of my oldest, because I didn't leave the house for those 40 days. I had somebody take her to school and bring her back home. So we had a huge community come and support and be there for us in those ways, and be able to receive that healing. Realized, for me, I had that realization of everything that I was healing from that first birth experience, from the first postpartum, right? And for my mom and for my grandma and all the other ones before me, my father is the first generation that migrated to the city. And so there was already that break within my grandmother's generation of the type of healing that those women received, right? My great grandmother passed right after, soon after she gave birth to my grandma. And so because she also didn't receive that traditional postpartum healing, right? That was that break in that generation that already started. And they still lived in the forest, but there was already a lot of changes, right? Within when the colonization happened in that region. And so for me, that realization of, well, this is exactly what ceremony looks like, because every day is ceremony. And it's how we embody the knowledge that we receive, the wisdom that we get, and all of the spiritual downloads that we receive, in a way of how do I live my life like this? So learning how to ask for help. And I think there's a step before learning how to ask for help is understanding, what do I need? What are my needs? And as women, I come from a matriarchal society, matriarchal culture, and but now in urban, right, living in urban area, or let's say the modern society, that has a shift. And so we live in a very patriarchal society right now. And so the women always know, you have to tough it up, you have to take care of the family, and then you have to go out and work, and you cannot take the children because they are seen as distractions. They're seen as they're going to trouble, they're going to cause, too much noise, etc. Right now they're there, they're reading a book, they're still here. And in ceremony, that's what we do. And so in the daily, we create our space here in the home. What does it look like in ceremony? What does it look like in the house? So we can live that daily, to get used to the times where we're out in community. And while we do that, we're teaching people how to be in community, how to have the children in those spaces. And for ourselves, right? What do I need? If I'm going to serve others, I cannot overgive. I cannot share more. It's like that analogy of the, right, empty cup, right? I cannot give from an empty cup. And so what do I need in order to take care of myself, right? To do everything that I need to take care of myself, take care of them, but then that extension, right? So it doesn't have to be separate. That's what I always say. Me being a mom is not separate from me being a caregiver to the community, or being a healer, or being a teacher, or being a birth worker. I am a mom first, right? That title, let's say the professional titles, right? They came before I became a mom, but now I am a mom, and that's the most important role. And so we adapt to what that looks like and to what we need. And sometimes it looks like this.
Amazing point of view, Mila. Interesting you saying that about titles, social titles, maybe. Being a mom comes first of being a professional caregiver, a spiritual caregiver. And interesting your experience with community ceremonies, community-based ceremonies. And I feel that is ancient technology in practice, you know. And it's interesting how we, from urban context, we don't have as much as knowledge of the importance of being community. Psychedelic parenthood community, it's also about that, about bringing this understanding back to life, back to urban contexts, in the retreats that we held in Jornadas de Cura. So I can say for myself, I'm still learning about that because I was raised in urban context. I started my plant medicine path in urban contexts. So I feel the difference. It's different from the roots, to understand a ceremony that it's based in community and not in individual processes and individual healing. Very, very special. If one of you wants to comment on that, I'll be very happy as well.
I do want to share, as you're saying that, there's something else that came for me, that it looks different in the urban context as living. I live in Philadelphia. It's a very, very giant city. So back home, I was breastfed by many women. And when I was in Brazil with my daughter, I also saw many children. We have a home in the Choclen-Lacano reservation in Santa Catarina. That's where my daughter's father is from. In the it's Ibirama reservation, and so in the village also witness, of course, many children being breastfed by different women. Not as common anymore within the Choclen people, but I still saw some of it. And then as I was here in Philly, that was something else that also happened, and that it was really beautiful. So both my daughters were breastfed by many women, and in that's the and that came to mind because it's the life force, right? So it's the base of raising a child, is feeding a child, not just feeding, right, but nursing the breast milk, which is a vital life force. And we have to make it. It's not something that we can make with our hands. We make it with our own bodies, our own fluids, our own blood, right? It becomes the precious milk that they drink. And so in that understanding as well, to how can we adapt the ways that our ancestors lived, really, into the ways that we live in urban areas. And sometimes people think that, oh yes, we got to do it how our ancestors did, sempre que comigo. And they think, oh, we're going to go back to living without electricity or without running water, and etc., etc. I do have many relatives that still live without running water to this day. There's many different indigenous communities in Brazil, right, without running water, without electricity. But we're in an urban area, so let's say it would be impossible to implode this whole city and start from scratch. Although we can only hope. but we were able to change and adapt, right? And it's like the plants. I see there's so many plants that are native to the Atlantic forest or to the Amazon that nowadays are growing all over the world. And what they do is they adapt. They adapt their energetical compositions. They adapt the ways that they grow in order to survive in these different climates, in these different places. And so for us as people, because we're made of the same things. And that's why the plants, I often say that the plants, they heal us. It's not because we're strangers. We're made of the same things, the same molecules, the same compositions. And so being able, we have the same power of adaptation as the plants do. And so being able to look right deeply into what are the ways that we want to, how we want to raise our children and give of ourselves as well and receive from others, and how do we adapt into our fast-paced life in the city. And also that shifting that as well, it doesn't have to be busy, it doesn't have to be fast-paced. We can breeze through all of the scheduling and all of the things that we plan, by nourishing ourselves in those simple ways. And with children, yes, it can be very simple. I think that sometimes we overanalyze, or we intensify things when there's no need. We can just live a very simple life, and as long as they're tended to and receive the attention, the care, the love that they need, I think a lot of the things that we see nowadays that can be called challenges, right? They can just disappear, really. So yes, when you said that, it really, that was something that came to mind, touched my heart.
I was inspired by a force of nature that I really wanted to call Juliana to join this conversation, because I remembered Itan, a folklore of Afro-Indigenous religions, that it's about Oshun. It is a great mother of the rivers, that says that Oshun polish her jewels before feeding her children. And it came to me listening to all of this conversation about taking care of ourselves as well as caregivers. So everything that we are talking about, each one of you brought this to the conversation. And I really want to invite Juliana to talk more about this ancient tradition that says lots about caregiving and self-love and respect. Anything that touches your heart, sister.
Well, when it comes to Oshun, it's easy to touch her heart, right? Yes. Well, I think that it's kind of our channels. We are our main tools of work, right? When I think about these things that we channel, the herbs, the tradition that we hold, or the pets that we track, it's important to understand, Tábata, that if we don't take good care of ourselves, like Oshun, she polishes her jewelry, she polishes her channel, her tools before feeding her children, because in order to feed her children, she must be there, present, with her full force. And when it comes to also another tool of Oshun is the mirror. And many people think is a vain tool, is a tool that she's just looking at herself or how beauty she is. Actually, is the tool that shows us our true selves, our true beauty. Not the plastic magazine, whatever given beauty that is there in the mainstream, but our divine nature, the beauty of our divine nature. And as Mila has mentioned, this tradition of women taking care of the community, of the children, this is also a thing that if you think about it, you can support each other. You have space for the other one go there and take care of herself or do something she needs to do in order to be healthier, to be rest, to be fully present. So when you talk about these traditions, it's interesting because we have deities like Oshun, that is the mother of love and prosperity and abundance, and she's the one responsible for the conception itself. And then you have Iemanjá, that's another Yaba, another mother that is responsible for the generation. From the conception from Oshun, she turns into the generation process. And not only the generation of beings, but also the generation of new ideas, of new processes, of new settings, of new groups, of everything that is generated. And also when you think about Oba, all thinking about women, okay? I'm kind of being biased here, girls, because I'm talking about the female orishas. Because when you talk about Oba, you talk about the warrior who actually is the fierce, the best warrior, the only one who defeated Ogun. And she's the one who also protects the unshedded tears, the broken hearts, and she's furious. And then we have Yansan, that is the goddess who brings transformation and movement and wind and her wind, and she doesn't let anything in place because the movement is necessary. So when you come with the powers of represented by these female forces, we can understand that we as women, we have all of these forces within at the same time. So when you talk about taking care of yourself, it's taking care of your tool of work. We work with our channels. If you don't if you don't have a good diet, if you don't pay attention of whatever we are intaking, if you don't pay attention whatever we are putting our mind on, if you don't pay attention to the words we are saying, the words we are listening to, we can become has twists, has everything else around us. So it's kind of a being, a kind of a clean vessel in the center of the hurricane, the eye of the hurricane, to be able to see how order can be placed once again, or in a new way, in a more creative way, in a more loving way, in a more compassionate way. Because that's what we embody with this tradition, right, Tábata? I know you were a dear daughter of Yansa as well. So you have this thing of transformation, of movement, of bringing the revolution to the things you do. So all of your actions are driven by passion. This passion you have that is so clear, it's something we can only have when we take care of ourselves. And I'm not a mother of a child. I'm not a mother, but I understand this when I see girls like Mila and Monica unfolding everything we do, plus children and family. They become my superheroes because they say, how come? Right? I mean, everything and a baby, two girls. Oh my God. Come on. So yeah, that's right. So I think it's fantastic. And I think it's even more fantastic. Now we're gonna leave a ball bouncing here, right? I think it's even more fantastic when men can really appreciate it and do their role. And I'm not talking about helping. It's not helping the role. It's do their role. Whenever I talk about doing their role, we're talking about so much more than helping. They can do so much more, right? So about taking care of ourselves, it requires it takes a tool, right? When you have to be there for ourselves first. It's like in the case of the compressor of the chamber, right, of the airplane. You have to put masks first on you and then on those you love, because otherwise you won't be able to do anything. So I'd like to ask after Mila. Mila, I'd like to ask you some herbal baths for pregnant women and also for children, because I always have this doubt on how can I support pregnant women, because sometimes I a little bit concerned if some herb can be too strong for children or, for the pregnancy. So yes, thank you for this opportunity of talking to these girls, Tabata. This is really nice.
So,
Yes, thank
okay,
you.
Mila, please.
Um, I always say for the babies, it's my baby plant that my mom used to um, bathe me when since I was born with chamomile, and it's one of the most gentle. Yet it's one of the strongest plants. Everybody looks at chamomile, it's like, oh, chamomile is so gentle and so nice and so sweet, but it's one of the strongest plants that we have, and all plants are feminine, are divine feminine. Ever if you pay attention, when we're studying ethnobotany, and we have the creation stories of all plants, because they're all spirits as well, and they're all women as well, and so we bathe the babies. I bathe both my babies the first 40 days every single day with the chamomile, and also my mom used to prepare. Of course, we don't usually give tea to baby until at least like 6 months. Just breast milk in the beginning, but Melissa lemon balm tea is very, very good and very calming for babies and for children. I still love it, and it's very gentle for pregnant people as well. So for drinking and for bathing as well. Chamomile is good for drinking in the third trimester. I wouldn't drink chamomile in the first trimester because chamomile is also, it is a nervine, it's an adaptogen, so it helps to regulate their nervous system, to calm down the nervous system. But it can also, if you steep it too long, or if it's an older medicine, it can become what we call a bitter, and that is good for digestion, and it can cause mild contractions, right? So during first trimester, we do not use chamomile. And I always say that because a lot of people, I had a couple, actually, one of my pregnant mamas come to me last week, and she was like, can I drink chamomile tea? And I was like, not yet. And she said, oh, okay, because I drank it the other day and I felt kind of funny. I was like, no, don't drink it. She's like about 8 weeks pregnant, and so we have to be careful with that. But in the postpartum time, my grandmother used artemisia. That's mugwort here in the States, and you find different regions have different kinds. And fennel, funcho. It's if you I got to visit my one of my aunties, my grandmother's sister, the last one that was still alive of her generation. When I visit the last time, they took me to her old house where there was no electricity, no running water, and then they moved her when she was older to a house that already had electricity, and there was this fence around the house covered in mugwort and fennel. And my dad even told me, I remember, I was like, wow, like, look at how much fennel and mugwort. And he's like, well, all curanderas or parteras, like midwives and healers' houses, you'll see mugwort and fennel. And so those are the main plants that we use. Fennel is what we call in herbalism a galactago, so it helps to produce milk. And chamomile is also really good for the postpartum time for drinking as well, because it does help to produce milk as well. Anything that helps to regulate the nervous system, anything that helps us calm down, it helps to produce milk. So it's also within the self-care, right? That I always say, a lot of the times, that's also something that let's say in the modern world, it's got taken from us, right? As we can say that, with the creation of formula, with the saying, oh, the better fed, right? And yes, of course, it's always better than a baby is fed, but nothing substitute breast milk. So I always say for moms, the really the golden key to making milk, to being able to feel good also postpartum, is hydration, lots of hydration, right? And calming down the nervous system. So taking the baths, being able to receive a massage from somebody. And you don't have to be a massage therapist to give somebody loving touch. And so it's very loving, very gentle touch. It's nothing, I do manipulation of organs and putting, the hips back in alignments and all that kind of stuff. But that we do after the first 40 days, right? We start to, do more intentional work to close the hips, but it's very gentle work. And so with the bath, the same thing. I love really hot baths, and it helps to relax the body right away. So as hot as the person can stand. And during the postpartum time, any plants can be good, right? But during pregnancy, you can use pine, you can use cedar as well. Those are more in the north here. We can find a lot of pine and cedar, but we use a lot of pine. I remember also receiving lots of Araucaria baths. That's our mother tree of the Atlantic forest, and we do make a lot of medicine with pine as well. And then I would say another one that's within like safe and also gentle. Ooh, almost fell this time. Almost fell. I have is mint. So mint, it can also help us to. We use it for benzimento as well. You can use mint to do a cleanse. The aroma, helps us to relax and to feel good. Any of the Lafayette family, which is like the aroma, the very aromatic plants, so mints and lemon balm and anise, all of those. Yes, the flowers, right? Some have flowers too. They help us relax, and so they can be really good for bathing during the pregnancy. And mint, I would stay away from mint at the postpartum time because it can help dry out the milk. So mint, oregano, parsley, all some of these herbs are not very good for milk production. Yeah, you know that, right? We like oregano. Oregano is good for breathing. So it can help relax the body as well. It's a good blend to use during the pregnancy as well. Yeah.
Obrigada, Mila. Thank you,
Thank
Mila.
you. Obrigada.
So,
I was
sister,
wondering,
tell
Mila, what's your favorite self-care herb for yourself?
That has to be lemon balm. It's one of my favorites. I love it. I love it so much, and I don't like putting honey in my tea often. But it's just so very gentle and
Mhm.
very sweet. But one of my favorites that's actually a pretty strong plant is garlic.
Mm.
If I'm starting, I usually do garlic and lemon in preparation, like before, colds, like before getting cold, the temperature before winter. And then whenever we feel like, oh, we're gonna get sick or we're sick, and so the little one, she had like a reaction of something she ate the other day, and so I was massaging her in garlic oil. I love it. It's been there for like maybe 2 years already. So it's pretty strong oil, and I was massaging her, and she smelled great. I always joke because one of my clients, I used it on her one day. She's like, "Oh, this is great. It's definitely gonna help." But I do smell like an Italian pizza. And but I said, well, but at least it works. And so I always say garlic. Whenever I travel, I always take a clove of garlic because you can just use it in different ways. Like for toothache, it's a very high anti-inflammatory plant. All plants are anti-inflammatory, but some of them are high anti-inflammatory that can help in that way. And a couple different ones that I like to bathe with. I have usually arruda. Arruda is what my grandmother used to give us blessings, to give us what we call benzimento, right? Like I think in Spanish they say limpias, but it's really a plant cleanse. And yes, rue in English. And I either use it in baths to do a bath, so that's what we would call for me for the plant bathing is like banho de descarrego. And so like when I really, want to cleanse, want to protect myself, so I usually prepare with rue. And it can be just rue. Sometimes I put rock salts to really, make it strong and get everything out. And it's very good for balancing. But I love the aroma of the plants, and I love the very aromatic plants. So the one plant bathing I made with the offerings I received from the community when I did a mother's blessing circle and a baby's blessing circle. We had different gatherings that we did in my house to prepare medicine. We made with cedar, pine, and rue and mugwort. And so I used, and I still have some of it, and now I added roses. And so roses are also very good to bathe with postpartum. They bring a lot of love, a lot of harmony, and different colors, they heal different things. And my grandmother also used yellow roses to heal susto. So we usually my mom would always say, essa criança tem susto, essa criança tá com a arca caída. And so it's like when the hips are dropped or when we are frightened. Or it can be the aftermath of a traumatic event, we call susto, right? There's no other word in English. I wish, right? It's like saudade, right? There's no like specific word in English for that. So it's like being frightened and what happens energetically, spiritually. My others say that it's like our spirit leaves our body momentarily, and it's like we're walking, but then our spirit's like right here, right? Not aligned. And so the plant bathing also brings us back right into alignment, and the cleanse with the plants also does that. And so rue also is very powerful to work for that healing. And with the babies, let's say even if it wasn't a traumatic birth that happened, but just by coming to earth, to earthside, it's already an event for them. It is a very big transition, and so that's why we bathe the babies right from the beginning, from the first day, and then cleanse the babies. And we did different. We did one of the Kaingangi rituals that we do, that I bathe them in clay. So we bathe them in clay, and that's when we introduced her to the community. I gave her name, so that was after 7 days, and then after 14 days, and then when we came out of the house after 40 days, but then after 3 months we had a sweat lodge. So that was the first time I got in the lodge after birth, and then we bathed her in the clay and then introduced her to the community, and the people that are helping me raise them and take care of them came through and did that portion of the care. So it's also weaving through the caring community and the care home. And so yeah, these plants are, I think, my favorites and the ones that speak to me the most. But one thing that I always say is also paying attention to plants that grow around you, and plants that follow you, plants that come to talk to you in dreams, plants that come through either ceremony or any spaces where you might receive those messages. That is a good plant to work with, and looking into ancestral lineages as well, right? Each culture uses different plants depending where they lived. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Classes and classes. I hope you are taking notes about that, but if you're not, we are recording this so everyone can watch it later. But I'm missing some more of Monica's knowledge, since now we are talking about caring of ourselves, of our physical bodies. We talked about our nervous systems, so with the chamomile, for example. So I really want to hear a bit more of your beautiful work, Monica, because I feel that looking and caring for our physical bodies, it's an important tool for spiritual caregiving more and more and more. I say that because it's in my personal journey to take care of my physical body, take care of my self-love, because this is spiritual as well.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
only taking plant medicine, not only praying, but taking very good care of our physical body.
Yes. Thank you, Tabitha. Yeah, to reiterate a lot of the things that were already said, our body is our temple, and to me, life is the ceremony. And it's every day. How do we show up for ourselves and for this temple, right? To receive the intuition and the messages and the guidance, to have the peace in our heart, for our hearts to be open so that we can share our love with our loved ones and who we're caring for, and ultimately the collective. So, specifically, like what I do and the practices that I facilitate, we do a lot of breath work. I think the breath really is the tool and the instrument, and it's so accessible. At any point, we can just stop and just start deep breathing, or we can do other types of breath work to relax the nervous system almost instantly. Within a couple minutes, you'll feel a shift. And it's so beautiful to see the people that come in to take my classes and practices, how much different their mood is when they leave. It's almost like they're a different person. And I wish sometimes I could take like a before and after picture, because there's just so much like light in their eyes, and just like this heaviness has been removed. And all we're doing is breathing, in different ways and techniques. So I'm so grateful that I stumbled upon this practice, that it really shifted my life into bringing me onto my spiritual journey. Had a lot of like anxiety and stress, and ultimately I wasn't happy because of those emotions that I was carrying. And this has just been able to, allow me to have the tools to be who I am meant to be here. Yeah. And I really
Peace
love
and
the plants as well.
peace.
I combine those like aromatherapy into the practices. So I'd love to learn more from Mila about, which herbs and plants would be good to use as like essential oils during practice, or drinking as teas after. And I love that she mentioned the lemon balm, because when I was there in Brazil in January, it's like the first time I drank the Melissa tea. What is that? Yeah, it is. It's so beautiful. So since I've been home from Brazil, I use that one a lot. So that was great. I'm curious, do anyone else have like some sort of energetic practice like qigong or um, breath work that they do? Yeah.
I do. But this one is not for children, nor for pregnant women. This one is for everyone who needs to cheer up. If you're sad or exhausted or tired, we have a Pomba Gira bath. Can I share that, Tabata? Pomba Gira bath, my dear. Pomba Gira is the female force, the archetypical female force of joy, of the unapologetic women, of whatever we do for the sake of pleasure. We do because we want. It's not to protect, it is not to take care, it's just by ourselves. And I think enjoy ourselves, enjoy our bodies and our possibilities. It's something that nourishes me very much. So when I recommend the Pombagira bath, it's there are two things that happen. It works because the person who takes it never comes back. They go their life take them to a direction, and they say sometimes, hey, I call them, are you alive? Oh, shoo, it was amazing, it was fantastic. So the only sad thing is that they never come back to give me any news about it, but I know it works. So it's actually simple. It's connected to what Mila said before. You get yourself a red rose and you macerate it with your hands and intention, listening to the songs you like that cheer you up. And then you leave it rest for, I don't know, at least half an hour. And then you filter it. If you have a bathtub, you can put in a bathtub. But if you don't, you do like we do here in Brazil, take to the shower, your bucket. And then after your regular shower, you open a bottle of champagne or cider, or it must be sparkling, alcoholic, and sweet. So you open this bottle, please be careful. You are in your bathroom space with your hands wet, so be mindful. But you open it, you celebrate life. With whom? With yourself. And then you're gonna pour all this bottle neck down, neck to the toe. You're gonna feel this energy of these bubbles coming through your body. You must feel everywhere because it is important chakra to be bathed by this energy too. Laroye Pombagira. And you're gonna bring all this axé of this energy of feeling this bubble, this smell, this everything in your body. Preferably listening to your favorite music, your favorite song, the one you like to you know to sing along from end to end. And then you're gonna, once you feel it's enough, you're gonna rinse it off with that rose bath you have prepared. And then you rinse this alcohol off of your body. You don't gonna rinse anything else. It's going to be enough. You're gonna let it air dry as much as you can. If it's winter there, I believe it's impossible, so you can just tap a towel. Avoid social media, avoid scrolling, avoid useless discussions. Try to maybe some breath work, right, Monica? Some meditation, some stretching. I really like stretching when I need to connect to myself. So enjoy yourself and have a fantastic evening. Sometimes with fantastic dreams. It always helps, honestly. It always helps. So
It sounds
that's my.
amazing.
But if you do it, please remember to afterwards telling Joe, I like it, I did it.
I loved this energy, I'm very intimate with Pombagiras, and I think it's a beautiful energy for us to start wrapping up and ending this meeting. And interesting that this energy showed up because it's also about caregiving. There's still lots of misunderstanding about the energy of pleasure, joy, orgasm as caregiving as well. So the Pombagiras are here to remember us that all of this is also caregive, is also self-love, is also self-care. So thank you, Ju. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Mila. It was an amazing time with you all of these recipes for caregiving, for self-care classes and classes, as I said before. Thank you so much for this opportunity to learn from you and to share your knowledge with everyone that will listen to this interview. So I am Tábata, psychologist, earth medicine facilitator, apprentice of plant medicine biocultures, psychedelic parenthood community partner, and Women Who Care is an educational series that we do it with amazing women in plant medicine, in spiritual caregiving, mothers, sisters, wives, to share our knowledge, to be surrounded by inspiring stories, And this was our second edition. Thank you so much.